Stay tuned later on in this video, there is a giveaway announcement and the steps to qualify for that giveaway, so check it out, and don't forget, there's a giveaway in this video. Please participate. The Nintendo Switch is my favorite console as of right now. It may not be the most powerful console out there, but that's just fine. For me, it's always had a lot going for it. From the fact that you can play it on the bigger screen, but you can always pick it up and take it on the go, I just really adore having handheld systems to play on the go, like the PlayStation Vita, the PSP, the 3DS, 2DS, 2DS XL, New 3, all those S's and D's. But one of my favorite things about the Nintendo Switch is the namesake itself. You can switch from a handheld to a console that you play on a bigger screen. It's always nice and convenient to be able to have that option. As much as I like the Nintendo Switch Lite, I just gotta have that dock ability for those moments when I do feel like playing on a bigger screen, or if when I have to record videos for the channel, which, I haven't done a game video in a while, but I am recording some that are coming up soon. One downside with the Nintendo Switch is that you need a lot of accessories for this thing. Okay, maybe not need, but it definitely has its shortcomings, and a lot of great accessories are out there that it would benefit from. Using the Joy-Cons on their own is not exactly comfortable, and using this thing is definitely not ideal in a lot of people's eyes, and Nintendo knows that, which is why they gave us the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. The Switch Pro Controller, unbiased, no lie, is one of my favorite controllers, if not my favorite of all time. It's the most comfortable controller to me for sure, and it just feels great in the hand. I guess one downside would be the fact that it only has digital triggers and not analog triggers, but that's not exactly a huge deal for any of the Switch games that I play. However, one major downside is the fact that this is in fact a Nintendo product, and it costs a lot of money. Nintendo, it's 2020, bro, give us a break. You don't have to charge $60 for every game. But the Pro Controller is $70. That is $10 more than a full-priced retail game. At least right now. As such, there are a lot of third-party controllers out there, a couple of which I own, one of which I've reviewed in the past, but today we're talking about the PowerA Enhanced Wireless Controller. Big shout out to PowerA for sending this one out for review. They make a ton of these things. I chose this one because I like Pokemon and also because of the colors. I mean, if you know my channel's color theme, you know that this is right up my alley. This is perfect and it's beautiful. I love just looking at this thing because it's just so bright and colorful, and it's exactly what I look for in a color scheme. And so I chose this one, but there are tons to choose from. You've got Animal Crossing, Zelda, Mario, Spyro. There's just a ton of different franchises that they model some of their controllers after. And if you don't like any of that, you can even get the black or white or whatever other more plain options that they have out there. Checking right now on Amazon, it says there are 28 options to choose from. That is quite a bit. So I've been testing this thing out for a few weeks now, and I have some thoughts about it. It's not the greatest controller in the world, but it is certainly far from the worst. We have come a long way from the days of any third-party controller being basically a piece of garbage that would break and you gave it to your friend when they came over, or your friend gave it to you when you came over, because who wants to buy two controllers when you can just give the garbage to the guests, right? My first impression taking this controller out of the box is that it was surprisingly very light. It doesn't feel cheap, it just feels hollow. It's like, how does this thing work? It's just an empty shell. But it doesn't feel like it's going to break. Of course, there's like some creak to it if you kind of really squeeze it and you try to stress test this thing, but just don't do that. Why would you go and squeeze your electronics? Just use them how they're intended. What are you, a YouTube tech reviewer who has to squeeze things to tell people if they squeak when you squeeze them? Spoiler alert, cats squeak when you squeeze them. That's a joke, I've never squeezed a cat. That said, though it does not feel cheap, it is considerably lighter than the Pro Controller, and that's for a few reasons. There's some things missing from this controller that you would find in the Pro Controller, but that's kind of okay because it's sort of a trade-off, because this is $70, whereas this retails for $50. But on Amazon, for example, you'll find it for all kinds of different price points depending on which color or design you choose. But before we go into what's missing, let's go into what the controller does have. The buttons feel responsive, none of them feel like they're stuck or mushy. Really, once you have this thing in your hands, aside from a few small caveats, you can't really tell or focus on the fact that you're not using a first-party controller. I feel like that's something that was not true even 5 years ago. For some reason, the Nintendo Switch just really really made people up their third-party controller game. I swear before that it felt like everything was considered garbage unless you had first party, and suddenly this comes out and everyone's like, bruh, we gotta try our hardest to get some people to buy our stuff. And so they have. I think it's been great for the market, and this is evidence of that. The thumbsticks are where you'd expect them when it comes to using a Pro controller or Xbox 360 controller. The buttons are nice and large and clear to see, easy to reach, and the shoulder buttons are great as well. That feels like you're gonna press the shoulder button and it's gonna do what the shoulder button does in the game you're playing. It does have motion controls, so if you're playing Breath of the Wild or Splatoon or what have you and you want to use the motion controls, they are there. I also like that the home button does let you wake up the Switch from a distance. It may not seem like a huge deal to some people, but when your Switch, for example, is docked and you have like maybe in a big room with a big screen and your Switch is kind of way over there, you don't want to walk up to it every time to turn the thing off and on just because you're using one of these. Well, that's fortunately not going to be the case. Now, one thing this controller has that the Pro controller does not have is actually 3 additional buttons on the back of the controller. That's right, these 2 clicky buttons here in the back can be used as basically macro buttons for any other button on the face of the controller. Maybe not every button, but most of the buttons. It's pretty easy to program. You just have to hold this program button down here in the middle, and then the LED on the front will start to slowly flash. Then you press whatever button you want to select to program into one of these, and then it'll start to quickly flash, and then you just press whatever trigger, whatever little button here in the back you want to assign to that button. Say for example you're playing a more competitive shooter on the Switch like Overwatch or Splatoon 2 or whatever else is on there. You can then, for example, assign jump to this button so you don't have to take your finger off of the control stick to aim, and you can just jump by slapping your middle finger on this bad boy. Maybe you can assign reload to this one, so that way you're just always fully aiming in case anybody comes at you like Cleopatra. You just bam, shoot him in the face. Also like Cleopatra would have probably done were that guns existed in that time. I will say it does take a little bit of getting used to, but if it's something that you do often enough and you're really into the idea of using a paddle back here, basically that's sort of the equivalent to paddles like you'd find on more higher end expensive competitive controllers. Now on to some of the gripes. These are either things that just didn't quite rub me the right way, or they might be something that doesn't quite bother me, but they might bother some of you. For one, I didn't like the button placement on the left side of the controller, but it felt like the D-pad and the left stick are a little bit close to the center. It's like very subtle, like you wouldn't even know by looking at it, but it just felt like I had to reach a little further than I'm used to reaching when it comes to using the Pro controller, for example. Another thing to keep in mind is this controller is not rechargeable at all. There are no USB ports on it to even plug into your PC, for example. It is literally just a Switch-only controller that runs off of 2 AA batteries, which are included in the box. Fortunately, they do seem to last a long time. Basically exclusively been using this controller for a few weeks when I play the Switch to test it out and really make sure that I'm using it to its full ability for this video, and it hasn't died on me. But still, if having a rechargeable battery is a must for you, this does not have that, so please keep that in mind. Another thing is it doesn't have any rumble, like whatsoever. Also no NFC. So if you plan to use Amiibo with this thing, you're going to need to keep a Joy-Con or another controller nearby. So is this better than the Pro controller? Well, no, but it's also not nearly as expensive. That thing is $70, and yeah, it may go on sale from time to time, but you really have to wait and watch and be patient for those sales for it to drop maybe like $8, and even then you're only stuck with the black option, and if that's fine with you, that's cool. There are, of course, past special editions like the Smash one and the Xenoblade one, but if you want to get those now, you're going to have to pay a lot more on eBay. And really, as far as what's missing from this controller versus the Pro controller, lack of rechargeable battery kind of sucks. Lack of rumble, I guess, is unfortunate for some. Aside from that, it is very perfectly adequate and so far very durable, lightweight controller with programmable buttons that you will not find on the Pro controller for at least $20 less. Maybe you already have a Pro controller like me, but you need more controllers to buy, or maybe you just like collecting controllers like some people out there like to do. I see you on Instagram sometimes. Even at $50 a piece, that's a lot of controllers. But you know what? Good on you. Especially because the Switch has so many great third-party controllers to choose from nowadays, and PowerA themselves, as you've seen, has tons and tons of options for you to choose from. I'm really trying to resist the urge to pick up more because these are really nice. I want to kind of like display this somewhere, but then if I do that, I feel like I'm going to want to just buy all the other designs that I like, which is not going to happen. Now, not only has PowerA given me a controller to use and review for myself, but they've also given me a second one to give away to you guys. Now, before we wrap things up, I want to thank PowerA for sending not only this controller, but for sending a second one of these Pikachu and Mewtwo controllers for me to give away to you guys, assuming you're in the US. Shipping ain't cheap. Now, at the moment as of filming this portion of the video, I don't quite have all of the rules ready to go yet, so we're gonna kick it over to Future Portly to tell you guys how to enter. Future Portly? That's right, Past Portly. This is Future Portly, and it is too hot to get nice and pretty for the camera, so here is some voiceover with some stock footage. Look at that cool thing on your screen right now. I'm giving away another copy of this same Mewtwo and Pikachu PowerA wireless enhanced controller on Instagram. Why Instagram? It's easier, I guess, also to make sure that, if you win, you're in the US. So how do you enter? Simply look up The Portly Gamer on Instagram or go to instagram.com/theportlygamer on your browser, click the follow button, and look for this photo on my Instagram. Like the photo, tag 2 friends who may be interested in entering themselves, and though this isn't required, if you'd like, you can help spread the word by sharing the post to your story, maybe? Again, you must be within the US, you must be following me on Instagram, and you must still be following me when I pick a random winner and check to see if you're following the rules. I will have all the rules in the description of the Instagram post, so don't worry too much about remembering them from the video. This is a brand new sealed controller that has never been touched, so no worries about the Rona, but just make sure you've got your DMs open so that if you win, I can message you to let you know. The winner will be announced via my Instagram story on Saturday, October 10th at a currently undetermined time. This giveaway is going live at the same time I post this video, so if you're watching this now, the giveaway is already up and ready to be entered, so be sure to check it out, make sure you follow and tag some friends, and that's it. Back to you, Past Portly. Fantastic. And so there you have it. Feel free to enter. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to see another video, assuming you're still here and haven't left from entering the giveaway, you can watch one of these videos here on the 8-bit do mini light controller. The name escapes me at the moment, but it's this one right here. And here is a random Switch game video that I haven't done a game video in a long time. I'm sorry for that. I have more coming though, so subscribe by clicking on my face. I'm out of here before the 20-second time limit for these little end things runs